good morning, good afternoon, good evening. What's going on? It's Pastor Jay again here at the Takeaway Podcast. Hey, today is one day that it's going to be one for the books. One is really going to make a difference. And I think our special guest today is a personal friend and brother, a mentor, and I think he's the very best person that I know to talk about our topic today, which is collaboration. Right before we jump into it, and I sit down completely, no holds bars with Attorney Kendall Moore, my friend and brother. I want you to like, I want you to share, I want you to subscribe. I want you to share this with someone else. Do that for me at the very beginning, because your fingers, I don't want your fingers in the way the rest of the time, right? I want you to ride down the road, rock out in the gym, or just sit and get a grip on what's going on. Hey, welcome to the Takeaway Podcast, my friend and brother.
Pastor Jay, I appreciate it, my brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Man, you are an inspiration to many. Sometimes I think you are a best kept secret at the same time. You know what I mean? I mean, you are, we've been friends for years, man. I need to remember how we met. I don't even remember how we met, man. But when I met Brevard, I met, Kendall Moore, man. And, today's, you do so much. You're on several boards in the community. You have done some things behind the scenes to help some folks get along. It's kind of your mission. I don't know if it's in your bloodline because of your parents, man.
That's right.
And then we're also a part of the Masonic family, right? And but man, like, I know personally, and we'll get into this more. I know personally some things I didn't even know were in me, dude. And I'm supposed to be the preacher, right? And you block those things out. When you think about collaboration, or the word collaboration, what comes to mind for you?
So many times people are on a mission in life. Mm-hmm. Could be a personal mission, could be a professional mission, could be any kind of mission. And we learn very quickly as we get older and we mature that it's a tough go when you do it solo. There's things you don't know. There's wisdom you don't have. There's maturity things you may not see. And so the opportunity to join with others around you to help you accomplish your mission is something that just makes common sense. And I use two examples. Barack Obama used to say, part of the reason it's tough to eat the whole pie is because everybody not eating their own piece.
Yeah.
Right? If everybody would just take a little piece, then it'd be much easier to consume.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you trying to eat your piece and somebody else's piece. And so the opportunity to work together, that consumption process would be so much easier.
Yeah.
Collaboration, something you and I talk about, it doesn't allow you just to add, it allows you to multiply, right?
Absolutely.
Adding, you can move along incrementally and slowly, but that multiplication process really can help it grow bigger and better. And when we're looking at some of the things that you do in this community and problems that you're trying to tackle and things that you're trying to do, they got all kind of angles and facets and spikes and pitfalls. And when you can put people around you to build a network to help you do it. I've said before, you're still young.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit beyond you, right?
Yeah.
But we talked a little bit about something I've been saying for a long time. Wisdom is something we don't have time to learn. All right. You could either listen to somebody who's already been down that road, or you can go experience the same pitfalls, and something that you might have been able to do in a much shorter time, it's going to take you longer and be a lot more painful. So the ability to work together for the collective good. I'll leave your initial question at this, and I've shared this with you many a days. Somebody asked me one day, what is power? Power is moving multiple people in the same direction at the same time for the same purpose, right?
Power.
And so the ability to gather that, as you know, I've called on you many times when I've been involved in an issue because you've got the ability to galvanize people, right? I know that if it's an important issue and it's something that Pastor Jarvis believes, if I call him, 500 people coming, right? And they're going to be knowledgeable, they're going to be prepared, they're going to be excited, and they're going to be ready. Yeah. And sometimes when you bring the cavalry, you can really make big change.
Yeah, man. Man, it's so many. You know, they used to call it irons in the fire, right? And I know one thing, just to comment on what you said, mentors should help you crush time barriers. Mentors should help a person exceed and excel time barriers. And there's things I shouldn't, if I have a mentor, if I have somebody that I'm listening to, that's the importance of listening, because now I can learn from their wisdom. I can learn from what they did. So that's spot on. Because we homies and we talk all the time, I think we skip. So you're attorney.
Right, that's right. I am the principal at Kendall Moore Law Firm that's been in town. Worked with multiple other lawyers for years, but since 2009, had that. And we are primarily, do have individuals still in the personal injury business, but my primary business is we're really in the lobbying business. Okay. We are in the government relations business. We help businesses and individuals who need things from the government. That could be procurement. You want to sell them something. Or it may be a process that you have to go through, an approval or a license or something for that. When you build new programs in the community, when you build transitional housing in the community, when you decide to build a new church in the community, when you decide to open charter schools in the community, right? All of those things have some kind of government steps and hurdles that you have to go through.
Absolutely.
And part of what makes that a collaborative process is, remember, the government isn't a building or a place. It's a group of people. It's a staff that works there, and it's a leader, city manager, county manager, something like that. And then there's a group of policymakers, 5 of them or 7 of them, and you work your way through those steps. And eventually, as I've shared with you, when 3 of those 5 people raise their hand and say yes, then you have the opportunity to move forward with your process.
Man, I'm from the hood, man. I'm from Oakland, California, man. I'm in Brevard County. One of my very best friends in the whole wide world, my brother, is a lobbyist. How does somebody even think of that? Like where does that come from? Like, I get it now,
That's
but
right.
I know the importance of it now in my life. But like, yeah.
You know, I wish I could say for me personally that I had that idea that I wanted to be a lobbyist.
Yeah.
You know, I was a city councilman in Rockledge for 2 terms. And after that was over and I was not running for elected office, someone called me and asked me for help in that type of environment, and I helped them.
Gotcha.
Well, a month later, somebody else called and they asked for help.
Yeah.
And the second person said, I'm not asking for a favor.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I'm gonna pay you.
I'm going to pay you for this. And by the time the third and the fourth one came, this light just went off like, hey, wait a minute. And don't get me wrong, when I had worked in corporate America, I ran a lobbying operation. And so it was something that I had done. It's more prevalent in urban areas. And there were lobbyists here in Brevard, but most of the lobbyists in Brevard, as you know, did work at the state, did in Tallahassee and others. And I started doing some Tallahassee work, but I was more interested in local government, city, county, school board, Port Authority, educational institutions like Eastern Florida and the like. And so by doing that, I could work and help people through those processes and still sleep in my own bed at night because the work was all local in Brevard. And so over time, incrementally, it became a larger and larger piece of my business. And probably around 2017, the majority of my business was lobbying. And by probably 2019, the majority of the firm's business was in that same space, right? And so I always use 2 simple words. You talk about, you always tell me, it's Oakland, make it simple for me, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 things, or maybe 3. I consider myself a relationship builder. You've got to be able to go to the right people to get the right things, right? And so it's 2 things that we ultimately sell, to make it pretty simple. We sell access and information / advice. Access is the decision maker will take my call. right?
Yeah.
The advice and information is, okay, Jarvis, what are we going to say when we get there?
Yeah.
Right? Because we are trying to accomplish a specific goal, right? Now, the people in the collaboration party is, we're not going to see just arbitrary people. These are individuals that we in our firm have worked to build solid, trustworthy, meaningful relationships. So there's some contingencies. When I come in the door, they know that I've probably vetted this. They know that I understand the kinds of things that are important to them. They know that I wouldn't bring them anything illegal, unethical, or immoral, right? Those kinds of things in the relationship build the pathway that when the clients are coming, there's a certain understanding already with the individuals that we are bringing this project to, that they will have hopefully an open ear. Does it mean they always tell us yes? The answer to that is no. And you know that.
Yeah.
We've been in the room before and they've said no. But then the next question is why? And when they helped us to understand how and why to do it differently, that's what gets us there. So it's something that I came across because people said I needed this help. We started doing that process. We had the access from the political days. We brought the information with it, and we've been able to really accomplish what I believe are some large, big projects in town. Many of them for our clients, as you know, high-speed rail and a variety of other areas that we do, but also, community things. You and I have worked on a number of things in this community. Our good friend Thomas Cole, right? We applied political advice and lobbying type skills to get the approvals that he needed from the school board, but also the community impact component. Because remember, you said it a minute ago, it's not just the elected officials. Sometimes we are working with the community at large. The best recent example of that is this concept of McNair Magnet School. Right? Yeah, there's a political decision down the road, but what you are seeing is the amassing of this community support to influence the opportunity of what's going to take place at the school.
Because it does matter what the community has to say about it.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes, even in a small community, people can be so divided that they don't get the right information. I'm on a few boards myself, and I'm sitting in this meeting earlier today, and it's this lived experience board with the COC or Brevard Health Brevard Homeless Coalition, and we're talking, and I just stopped in the meeting. I'm like, hey, so I want to make sure that the people that want to help the people we're talking about, that we're all communicating, we're all saying the same thing. So the person that needs the help, it's not hard to help. And I'm gonna dive in a little bit more with this because I'm about relationships, just like you. And I feel like if somebody is in partnership, collaboration and movement with me, then they shouldn't lose, right? Like it should be a win-win, right? Or at least our goal, what we said we wanted to do was establish, and you don't walk away feeling hurt, right? Or you don't walk away feeling beat down or whatever. And so for me, when I'm doing something with someone, I'm trying, or an organization or a group, I want to make sure that we align, right?
That's right.
And then that what we said we were going to do, we do. I want to make sure that if I'm asking an organization to help sponsor something, that I'm really telling people that they sponsored it, unless they, you know what I mean? Like I want them to get their bang out of it, man. And you kind of see through the lens of that a whole lot better. And we could start with Thomas Cole, right? Because he had this school and it had a dumpster. We laughed about it the other day. The dumpster was right there.
That's right.
And it wasn't paved or anything. It was like, yeah, Jarvis, you can help him fill up his school. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And you're like, hey man, ... You go for it, right? And like that has to be a different part of the brain or something that says, hey, that'll work. Like what it.
Well, there's part of what we try to deliver both to our clients and to the community is a strategic thought process. If we're going to succeed, there's a pathway of progress. There's some things that we probably should do, and there's some things that we shouldn't. There's certain timelines that it's going to take. There's certain processes that we have to follow. There's certain people that we need to talk to. And you and I have had, tell you how old I am. I still refer to it as a chalk talk, even though it's a whiteboard now, right?
Yeah.
You're going to the board, and you and I have sat in front of that whiteboard, and by the time we're done, we've scribbled it out, and you can see the pathway that it takes.
I got the
to be able to
napkin
do
too,
that.
though.
That's
See, they
right.
don't know
That's
about
right.
the napkin. They don't know about the napkin.
That's special, though.
That's special.
Yeah,
They don't know about the napkin. That's when you write it upside down, but
That's
you
right.
write it the right way.
That's
I
right.
got
That's
the
right.
napkin.
That's right. That's the lunchtime special,
Yes,
right?
yes.
You can draw that whole map out of what we need to do on a napkin, and as you said, you gotta. If you don't write upside down, the person across the table can't read it.
Yeah, they can't
All right?
read
So
it.
when
Yeah.
first time I wrote upside down,
Yeah.
you looked at me like, "Hey,
Yeah,
man."
that is funny.
You know, but
is funny.
that strategy is important. Our second business, we obviously have the law firm, but our second business, Space Coast Strategy, which is really the kind of the consulting side of that. That strategy word was important to us, right? And the two things that we say go with that: solid ideas and sound advice. Because remember, if I'm honest about my business, you know this. Nobody calls me or wants to pay me for how big the stack of paper is. You really call me 9 times out of 10 to get my advice and perspective on a strategic decision that you have to make. And I've shared this with you plenty of times, particularly on the pastoral side, right? You've heard me say this to you, and I say it to other non-pastoral leaders. God didn't speak to me. He spoke to you.
Yeah.
He sent me to help you accomplish what it is that you were going to do.
He gave me the vision.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
So here's my classic one. Help me grow my church. Well, a church is just like any other business. It's got similar fundamentals. You can make it grow, but give me a little more detail about really what the Lord told you. Where, when, how, whatever, and we can build the strategic plan and the people and the whatever around that to be able to accomplish it, right? But 9 times out of 10, the vision didn't come to us. We are the collaborators. We are the conveners. We are, as you said, the people trying to make sure that there's not duplication. I'm going to tell you, like you told me a long time ago, it's enough out here for everybody to eat. No reason for us to fight. No reason for us to beef. No reason for any of that. So like you said, if I worked with you and collaborated with you today, and I came up on the short end of the stick, when it's time to collaborate tomorrow, do you think I'm coming back?
No.
Right? That's part of what keeps this process going. That even my out-of-town clients, I tell them, I can only do it a certain way because if I go burn the playground down, I live here. I got to come back to the playground tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And so there is a strategic thought process that goes with it, but there's also a community consideration and concern that this is home. And you wouldn't, you know the choice I have, Jarvis? I can choose my clients. I don't have to represent and do everything. I'm going to represent and do the things that I think is going to make Brevard a better place. Outside of that, there's other people you can hire.
Yeah, that's dope, man. I love that. You know, they had that saying about putting the right people on the bus, but it's also about putting the right people in the right seats on the bus, right? Where everybody can get along, and not that we just get there, but that we get along and we work together to get there, man. So Law, you have an amazing wife.
I do.
Amazing wife. Been married how long?
It's about to be 30.
Okay, 30 on you. 30 on you.
Coming up.
Okay. Amazing wife. Two amazing kids. You want to say a little bit about?
Yeah, you know, we my wife, Dr. Kelly Moore, is a local dentist, and you and I have commiserated with our spouses over this issue that it's tough to be married to somebody who don't have a regular assignment.
Absolutely. Absolutely. They got us.
Both of them probably deserve special praise and prayers, right?
Absolutely. They get a special place in heaven.
You know, we tend to be on the grind and be on the hustle, and we've been given this mandate to do some things to help, and you know, they've been super supportive in that regard. Shout out to Lois and Kelly, and certainly, like you said, 2 great kids. Ty, who's 22, who's a good Morehouse grad and a good Omega like his dad. We always say that. In this family, legacy matters.
That's right.
Right? It came from our parents on both sides to us, and we try to pass that on. So Ty graduated from Morehouse and is doing real estate in Orlando, and the little one about to be 21
Wow.
in a month.
Wow.
But the little one's a junior at Spelman College in Atlanta, and so she's
Okay.
still doing her thing and looking forward to pharmacy school.
Okay.
So really good things have been blessed in that category.
Yeah, man, they grow up, man.
Quickly.
Man, they were just volunteering at the camp. Now they grow. It's nuts.
That's
man.
right. That's
It's
right.
nuts, man. How these things go, man. I think that I had a question here for you, man. I think that just many people make moves and decisions, and I've done it in the past, right? You make a move, you make a decision, and you don't think about all of the people that it's gonna affect. I think it takes a special piece, a special part to include others and to consider others when making a decision. I mean, so you even in the biblical days, you had Zerubbabel and others who were basically the king or administrative, right? And then you had the priest, right? And there was this mix and this mesh and this collaboration that had to happen for the people to get what they needed, right? And I think that the same thing is true today, man. Working with organizations, hospitals, various ones, right? Things people would least expect. These are necessary in these days and times, man. So how do you feel about that? Like,
I think across the framework of our community, and we've worked with multiple organizations that you're affiliated with to connect them to what I call the institutions. Banking is an institution. Healthcare is an institution. Education is an institution that's got a few pieces. It's got K through 12, and then it's got the collegiate component, right? And all of those big institutions in the community, they have size, they have bodies, they have money, they have capacity. And sometimes the greatest ideas are coming to the community through smaller entities, through individuals, right? Like yourself, you sometimes say, Lord spoke to me and said, we're going to do this. Well, then when you ask me the question, I say, well, if we do that, this particular hospital can help, right? Hey, look, I'm still an advocate. Shout out to Health First when it comes out. But,
shout out to Health First. How y'all doing?
Right. But ultimately, that institution may help, right?
Yeah.
If there's a training component, K through 12 or Eastern Florida may be able to help.
Yeah.
And we add these institutions to really bulk it up and spread it out. Because sometimes if we just go forward with the idea in the capacity level that an individual or a small group has, a small not-for-profit or whatever, maybe it impacts 10 or maybe it impacts 20. But if you can harness the power of the institutions up to and including the government, maybe now you're impacting thousands at a time, right? And one of the challenges, and you talked about this, we have so many people in the community doing the same thing.
Yes.
And duplication can be a
talk to each
real challenge. And you said it earlier. It's not us. It's the customer that you're supposed to help that is confused. Do I go to them or them? Or if I go to them, can I still go to them? Can I go to both? Can I go to neither, right? And so the opportunity to understand what others are doing, and we can still be in the same space and not collide with each other as long as we work together, communicate, as you said, collaborate on that process going forward, then the community is going to a benefit in the end. And I've shared that with you. Let's learn how we're going to get out before we get in, right? We talk about that, right? So
absolutely.
if it's going to duplicate somebody or somebody may be mad or upset, let's understand who that is, what the deal is. And before we push the button and say, go, let's go have that conversation, right? And they may agree or disagree. They may like it or not like it, right? But if we have the opportunity to engage, we may be able to get rid of some of those things that concern them. Right. And a lot of times, you and I know this, we've come across it. Many of the concerns are phantom. Right. They're not really there.
Not even real.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I bet Jarvis. Well, did you talk to Jarvis? Did you ask Jarvis? Do you really know what the plan says? Well, if Jarvis works with this organization, then I'm not going to be. Then there's not. Wait a minute. Let's sit down and have a conversation and open communication and dialogue about it. And let's hope and pray we share one thing. The community's going to be a better place when we're done. right? Doesn't mean we always agree, right? There's a lot of people I don't agree with, right? Sometimes me and you don't agree. I leave it at that. And we don't always agree. But in the end, we want to share the idea that when we're done, that we're going to move it just one round. Every round's going to go higher and higher.
Higher and higher. Look at what you ain't Baptist, man.
Been there once or twice.
Yeah. Hey, man, so because of this thought process, because I'm a collaborator, right? Because I think like that, when I sit at this table, when I sit down at this table and I speak to these people, if I'm sitting in this training, I'm speaking to this individual, I'm actually thinking about my community and what I'm connected to, right? We're both Prince Hall Masons.
That's right.
I'm at the Mayo Clinic and I'm thinking about, I'm hearing them give this discussion, or I'm a cancer advocate, right? So I'm at the Mayo Clinic, and it came through Operation New Hope, right? So that's day job, New Hope, you know, it came through New Hope. I go to a training, but I'm not just thinking about New Hope. I'm thinking about Real Church. I'm thinking about My Community Cares. I'm thinking about Prince Hall Masonry. I'm thinking about various ones that are affected by this. And now as a collaborator, that's how I sit at the table. When I have one thing, I don't really even pass out business cards anymore. I need to do better with my life. But part of it is what I'm gonna do, have 8 cards.
That's right.
I mean, like, so, but I'm thinking about various things. And I think the more we come of the word is come, is this, the discipleship word is come alongside, right? So I think the more good people start sitting at tables and thinking about ways they can come alongside, not just for themselves, but for everyone, man, it changed the game, man. It changed the game.
2 things. One is, the strategic work is hard because after you strategize, you still got to go do the work.
Got to go do the work,
right? But the strategy helps you to identify the pitfalls, to understand the pathway of progress, to have a map. My father-in-law used to tell me when I was a young professional, a plan never survives its first contact with reality, but it's the only place to start.
Hold on, man. Come on, man. It's the new one, man. Run that back again, man.
Right. A plan never survives its first contact with reality. But it's the only place to start.
It's the only place to start. Wow.
Right?
That's dope.
Only place to start. And so the strategic part that you talked about is the plan. You weren't doing the actual work at the table. It was the strategic work being done at the table. It was the thought process. And the one thing, and my wife always tells me, it's going to put me out of business one day, but we've decided that we're going to teach people how to strategize and collaborate rather than force you to hire me and use me as a conduit to do it. Right? And hate's a strong word, right? But you hated me for that, right? Because you would always say, no, you come do it. No, I'm not gonna do it. Let's talk about it right here.
You know him now, Jarvis, you call.
Right? And then but now you sat at that table and you do it as a matter of course, right? You don't think about, well, I need to strategize and plan. No, you sitting at the table and you thought about the people, you thought about the process, you thought about the procedure, you thought about all the steps that you got to take and the pieces that you need in order to accomplish something. And think about the difference. You introduced the Mayo Clinic to Prince Hall Masonry in Florida. So this coming weekend, 2,000 new African Americans that have either suffered from cancer or have people around them suffering are going to get a new perspective from one of the most professional organizations out there, simply because you had the strategic thought sitting at the table that day to say, I can be a connector and a collaborator, right? And in the end, in reality, you didn't connect and collaborate because you got something out of it. You just thought it was the right thing to do, that if those 2 people talk, and like you said, you could have brought it back and shared it with 10 people.
Yeah.
But no, you said there's going to be 2,000. And when those 2,000 people leave, they're going to go back to communities from Pensacola to Key West. And when they go back to their communities, they're going to spread the mission and spread the word of what they heard relative to information on prostate and colorectal cancer, right? And so, again, you live it and don't realize that you're doing it, but it's become a part of how you function.
Yeah, people like, you're a networker, man. I don't network. Man, I want to be on my patio. I I don't, ne- I
That's
ain't,
right.
ne-
That's
I ain't out here networking. We
That's right.
old now, man.
That's
We ain't
right.
out here trying to be on every scene and all. No, man.
Yeah.
I'm going into the room and I'm thinking about how benefit. I'm telling people straight up, like, man, this is beneficial for our community. How can we work together?
I told
Right.
I told Dick Blake and Jolie Smith, good political mentors of mine one
Absolutely.
day, they can come up with more strategies sitting on their patio than we can in the meeting. Right?
Yeah.
Because that wisdom,
Yeah.
you've heard my mom say it to me before. You might be young and smart, but that wisdom gonna get you every time,
Yeah,
right?
that's
When
gonna
you
get you every
when you're
time,
not
yeah.
and so as a part of that, you don't realize it, but you're getting wiser. I was having a conversation with Mayor Mike Blake last night, and one of the things that we realized is that when we started as brand new politicians, Dick Blake and Jolie Smith were close in age to the age that Mike Blake and I are today. We don't perceive ourselves that way by any stretch. But in reality, the same people that we were going to for that wisdom, you are now in that age bracket.
Yeah, that's
right?
nuts.
And so I know you don't like it sometimes, but there's two famous words we hear everywhere, right? If you don't know what to do, call Jarvis, right? Call Jarvis. Well, how we going to call Jarvis? Who do I need to talk to? Call Jarvis. Am I right?
Yeah,
and so
it happens.
part of that is people recognize the connectors, the collaborators, the strategic types and the like. You know what I mean? And it's not like you do it for a business, but it helps you move it forward.
You know why I don't have another phone? That's your fault. I never told you that. It's your fault that I don't have another phone. Because you got that phone thing you do where you answer your phone. Like whoever has it, you answer it. No, for real. Like I can't take every call. You can't take every call.
yeah.
But like you call people back. Like I can remember the Jolie Smith calling me back at 8:30 at night and apologized. Man, you Dr. Jolie Smith. Call me back. But he calls back. It's 8:30 at night. Pastor, I missed your call earlier today and such and such. Right? So I mean, like, that phone thing is all my pastor friends got two phones, man. Most of my friends got two phones. They, their family, and then they got the dummy phone, right? And the phone that everybody can call. But like, man, the only reason I got one phone is because of you, man. That's your fault.
Yeah, but what are you trying to teach me to do? Every now and then turn it off, right?
Yes.
Don't get no rest,
and I
right?
cut it off. And we go back and forth on that. You like, bro, you cut your phone? Yeah, I cut my phone. I went on a cruise because I didn't want to use my phone. Like,
That's right.
We go back and forth with this. But the reason I only have one phone is because of you. Like you have this thing, like you answer your phone, like, or you call people back, like you want to, like, explain that. Like you said, out of these contacts in my phone, I want to, like, explain that.
You got to think about this. Challenges don't always happen at opportune times. And I've been having that conversation with my son for the last 6 months at the beginning of his working life. He got up from the dinner table the other night to take a call. Right? And I kind of chuckled to myself, and he saw me chuckle. And when he got back to the table, he said, all those years that I saw you do that, I didn't quite understand. It's like, well, why can't? Well, and again, you can also learn about some of the negatives that I did because our physical and mental bodies have limits, right? And you and I have been known to try to test those from time to time, like we're superheroes or machines or whatever the case may be, right? And so, but part of that is that in the community commitment that you and I have chosen, there is a level of accessibility and availability that goes with the program, right? There was and I won't name his name, but there was a very serious situation that happened in the community, and there were two law enforcement officials that reached out to me because they were trying to track down Jarvis. And if you remember, you were gone, you were out of town, you know what I mean, on a little vacation, and I reached out to your wife, apologized because it was midnight, explained the situation, and if you remember, you took the call and came back the next day and went directly to intervene with those individuals to try to address the situation, to help some individuals in the community that you didn't even know. Right?
And it could have been bad.
Really bad.
Could have been
really bad. Really bad. And again, I couldn't fix it. And something that I think you've seen with this collaboration is this. Brevard is not Broward or Miami-Dade or
Orlando.
Orange. In a lot of ways, we don't want to be, right? But in so many facets of our community, we are one deep. And you and I have talked about that. Well, if Jarvis doesn't, who will? And in that situation that night, there was no one who could have done
I forgot all about that.
what you did, right? With the exception of Jarvis, right? And you and I have talked about this over and over and over again. The one time I was the most upset with you was your a public post of your phone number, your address, and your everything. And you said, I'm tired of going to funerals, and I don't want to see one more person under the age of 18 die. If you feel like there's something going on, doesn't matter what time of day or what time of night it is,
That was nuts.
you call me or knock on my door.
Yeah,
Am I right?
Yeah, I did.
All
I
right.
did.
And I said, you want to make yourself available, sir, but the safety of your family is pretty important.
Yeah.
And but
You remember, dude. You remember everything.
But
man.
what did you tell me? About a month after that, you called me and said you need to come to my office right now. And I came to your office, and there was a young man there, it's about 16 years old, who showed up at your house the night before with a gun in his pocket. And you talked him through, and he came to see you the next day, and he said to you, you know what, man? You're explaining to me about this Jesus thing, and I'm in a place where I've never been able to trust anything in my entire life. My parents, my grandparents, my teachers, everybody around me gave up and turned their back. And you're telling me that there's this thing that I can turn to that'll be a solid state that I can follow and understand that's going to turn me around, right?
Yeah.
So I had to apologize. You understood why you published that, because that young man didn't know where else to go. And he came at midnight and knocked on your door, right? And you took your time at midnight out of your bed to make a difference in that person's life. And so that accessibility and availability, man, changes lives. It changes lives.
Yeah, but man, it's all your fault on that phone tip, man. It's all your fault.
And maybe I'm gonna turn mine off one day before I die.
No, I turned it off. Do not disturb is a real button. It's a real thing.
I'm learning.
It worked in getting that time, man. Hey, man, what you do for fun, man?
You know that
You
I don't play
can
golf,
tell
I fish. At
I
the
don't
fish
get
creek,
it. Y'all
the
catch
fish
fish.
don't complain and no problems, you know what I mean? They don't have those kind of issues, right?
Hey, you just throw them back. You know,
I do. I want to be there for my grandchildren to catch. You know what I mean?
That's nuts. That's nuts, man. Hey, man, so, I mean, if you're talking to a young guy, not even politically, just a young man in a neighborhood or a family or a person or a group, somebody wanted, because, you know, everybody want to get something started, right? And I'm so glad I didn't skip past this, because everybody want to get something started, but everybody want their own thing.
That's right.
You know, everybody want to do their own thing. You want to help the community, but you want your own thing. And, you know, a lot of this stuff we talking about, we don't talk about, right? And we don't take pictures, right? So this is a picture. They are antidote. Everybody wants to feed the homeless, and before the homeless can get their bag, they want to take the picture. Everybody wants to take a picture. When do you have time to do the work when your phone is always out? And it's like everybody want to start something new. Right. Everybody want to start something, and they want to start something separate, right? And it's weird, right? So, what do you say to that group? Because I got words for them too. Like, okay, cool. You know, but what do you say to that group with the pictures on it? Because 99% of what you do and how you help, that is Emma Jewell. If Thomas was sitting here now, he'd be singing praises. Like, that didn't happen out front. I went knocked on doors. You ain't gonna knock on doors. You spoke to entities, right? Thomas had education on lockdown. He was at the boys and he was at the library downtown interviewing people when the building wasn't ready. Corey handled the building and I handled the people in Thomas at school. But if the relationship to get the school itself don't happen, we'll handle what had at school. Right. So I mean, like, so most of what you do, and I ain't gonna get in your business, but a lot of stuff you don't get paid for.
That's it.
And a lot of stuff you can't take a picture about it. Not that it's crooked, you just can't take a picture. I mean, like, You didn't come to take the picture. You celebrate in the back.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please don't call my name.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, like, what do we say to this group of people that's younger than me? You way older than me. No, maybe like these people that's younger than me come behind me. What do we say to this group that want pictures and validation and demand attention? And you ain't been here for 30 minutes. Like you. What we say to them people?
Let me take your questions in reverse. So Joe Lee Smith told me in our community, there's two kinds of leaders, African American community specifically. There's the internal leaders and the external leaders. The internal leaders are the rah-rah leaders. They're the ones that everybody loves. Mm-hmm. They cheer, they keep everybody happy. They are the ones that keeps the community informed, and those are the ones that tend to be most celebrated and most loved, right? Mm-hmm. They love Jarvis, mm-hmm. right? Sometimes, right? On the other side, we have what we call the external leaders. Somebody has to be, or not just one person, but people have to be the conduit between the community and all the external institutions, people, and decision makers when it's necessary, mm-hmm. right? And so sometimes you got to go behind the door and close the door and speak truth to power relative to what the situation and scenario is. I had a community elected leader the other day ask me about the McNair thing, and I said, you know, you may believe that they're a little bit ahead of the curve, but remember, the last 3 times when they were the last to speak, they lost. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right? So my advice to them was strategically speak first. Start talking. You can err to be a little bit early. Start talking. And so sometimes when we, and you and I have worked on this, have to deal with external leaders outside of our community, most times in the majority community, mm-hmm. people don't understand that because they think you too close mm-hmm. to those mm-hmm. folks on the outside, mm-hmm. right? But we've got to work with everyone mm-hmm. in this collaboration to be able to get it done. Right?
I say it all the time. Nobody don't like the sheriff until your son in trouble. You need pastor to call him.
That's right.
Don't nobody like the judge until, you know what I'm saying, the pastor can call the judge. And
That's
you know, when you come to court with my grandson,
that's right.
That's right. Yeah, relationships are relationships.
That's right.
Yeah.
So as a part of that, you know what I mean, there are different kinds of leaders, and my particular role isn't one that's a celebratory to do, right? Mm-hmm. It's not for me to go take pictures, right? Yeah. You've heard me say to you and to others, I need 3 basic things from you. If I hook you up, please give me 110%, right? Mm. Please don't screw me over. Mm. And the third thing is, please don't tell nobody. Yeah. Right? right? Because that part of it isn't important. Right? It doesn't help our mission go forward anymore that somebody knows that I did. Yeah. The fact that I'm in this business, we don't really advertise a lot. But if you need it, you know where to find it. Right? And so it's a mechanism that the celebrity status, I would say this to any young person, it can come from the work you do, right? Let the work I do speak for me, right?
I told you
don't need to go, you know, put the icing on the cake and the extra into whatever. If you are doing the work, people are going to see, right? People are going to, you don't have to be the loudest, you don't got to be over the top, you don't have to do any of that. Just put in the work. And what Dick Blake and Joe Lee used to remind me, put in the work over time. And it'll help, right? You're doing this, but now Jarvis has been here 10 years, and people don't remember a time when he wasn't here, right? When you were in the building next to Fisk Grocery, and nobody know who Jarvis was. It was a whole different ballgame. You didn't try to go celebrity your way. You just started going, changing people's lives, and it caused people of all echelons to pay attention. Yeah. Right? I mean, it wasn't, and I was in the boardroom that day when you said to the board, we're going to have this event, and I'm not going to allow pictures. I'm not going to take them. I'm not going to allow. There are no cameras. And people thought you were kind of crazy with that, right? And your point was, I'm going to prove a point by saying doing the duty is sufficient enough, right? Yeah. And people are going to know. Now, let me ask you this. You don't have any shortage of people turning to you.
No.
So they know. Right?
Yeah.
And the interesting part is the people who need to know. And what do I mean by that? The people who need help know, and the people in the power structure who can provide help
Help,
know,
no,
right?
yeah,
And you that middle point that allows those things to happen.
Yeah, it's been nuts, man. I think with social media and everything, with past elections and various things, I just kind of made a decision. It's not gonna be about the pictures. It's not gonna be about like let's be in the moment,
Right.
right? Yeah, let's be in the moment, man.
I'm not opposed to social media. I'm not opposed
Me
to
neither, yeah.
publicity. I'm not opposed to any of that. But sometimes you can get so caught up in that you forget the fundamental mission as to why you did it in the first place, right?
Yeah.
And if and don't get me wrong, I mean, when you and I were much younger, we greatly benefited from credit, right? You know what I mean? The credit that you got from the fact that people knew and understood what you did, right? You and I are in a weird little place right now that you'd be happy not to get credit, right? You don't really need or care that people know. You're just you are 100% fulfilled by the fact that you've done it, right? And so if you've been in my office, if you look at my office, there's what I call little monuments that make you remember what it is, right? There's that little train that when we got on there 13 years ago, there was no such thing as a train, right? And there's this thing now that you got called a train, right?
Yeah.
Or
What about the other thing y'all did out there? Triple
USSSA, the largest amateur sports governing body in the United States,
It's up the
came
street.
here, built a facility, 17 of the nicest turf fields, and bringing in tourists from all over the country.
Year
You know what I
round.
mean? Year round.
Yeah.
Year round for that. And as you kind of look at those things, again, they were things that we thought made the community a better place, right? And that's the end all be all. Did everybody agree? No. Right? They don't agree, right? Sometimes they don't. But it's those things and those projects that we think we can uniquely impact as a part of it. And again, like you said, very few times people even know you got anything to do with it.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And that's like behind the scenes. That's like, okay, the other field was here, 3-4 months a year. They had a season, right? And then it's just dormant, right? And then to have someone now, it's year round. Hotels increasing, people coming in from all the tourism is up as a result of that. Yeah, man, it's my biggest thing now, man. I don't know what your next thing. My biggest thing now is, man, is helping other people get to where they're trying to go. Like, who want to listen? Who care to listen long enough, right? Before they strike out or go after it. Like, how to systematically move people around me that I have influence over into their purpose, right? That's my purpose. Like the vision is big enough for, I don't want to start a restaurant. You want to have a restaurant. Let's add capacity for this. Oh, I don't want it, but you're great at this. Let's add capacity to this. Like that's where I am now. I'm Kendall Moore, right?
You know what we call that, though, right?
What?
That's the transition from king to kingmaker.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, you've done your things,
Yeah.
but you can grow exponentially by helping 5 people to do it, rather than just what you can do by yourself, right? And again, you know that. I mean, part of answering that phone is how many days a week that people like you and I provide advice to third parties. And I'd rather you not tell anybody that we talk, right? That's not important.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to take on my enemies. I don't want you to none of that, right? I just want, if I can help you get a clearer vision to get where you've got to go, and you can accomplish this, and we can all in the background say rah rah, I am 100% happy with that.
Yeah. That's dope. So man, what's next for you, man? What's hot, new, and exciting, man? What's next?
I think there are always new projects that come down the pipeline and that show themselves, that continue to transform our community into a new place, right? Right now, healthcare is a super hot topic, right? And there are some transformative things happening that will change the landscape of healthcare in our community for a long time to come. And so there's always going to be those opportunities, I think. I'm like you. We still take on projects, but we try our best to help others and to continue to build others to take on that mantle. And one of the important things for me, particularly on the minority side, is to continue to see the proliferation of more African American elected officials, you know what I mean, in Brevard County. Yeah. Not only representing, you know what I mean, our own community, but representing broader ones. There was a collaboration, and you brought talking about what was next. When I say these things kind of drop out of the sky, you helped us out a little bit, even though it's not your neck of the woods, in Melbourne, where for 13 independent times they had tried to change the street to be named Martin Luther King, right? But we found a strategic window at a time where you had Tim Thomas, a former military, fairly conservative Caucasian male who was willing to take the mantle. You had Yvonne Minus, who had just been appointed, who was, you know what I mean, could help to carry the to-do. And we were able to build a coalition that now that street is there. That's what you see. We got one of those little street signs, right? Yeah. So each one of those things just, continue to remind us that as much as we've done, there's still more to do, right? And so as long as that continues, I think there'll be a mission for us. You and I can't do it as hard as we've done it, right? Yeah. As much as we've done it. Yeah.
That's why we need that collaboration. We need more hands.
Absolutely.
Many hands make light work, man.
And remember, you need people that are younger that have the energy that you and I had 25 years ago. Right. Yeah. What I tell my son, it's not the same way for you and I anymore, but for us, it used to be 2 a.m. and 2 p.m. was all the same thing. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Not so much anymore.
Not so much anymore. Yeah.
But I really think we've got a great opportunity and a great future. And there are people, even in your presence, consistently talking about collaboration between the generations. And if we can just fix that, all right, just fix that. Does it mean we agree? No. Respect, communication, understanding that when I look back, there's people that have been where I got to go, so I probably should listen. But when I look forward, I can't live forever. Somebody's got to carry the mantle, right? You can't always say they're not worthy. They don't do it your way. You can't. So there's got to be some understanding on both sides. And so, that's a project that I'd really like to see come to fruition, where there is a meeting of the minds, because for all of us, our days are limited, right? And there's got to be others who are going to carry that mantle.
Yeah, speaking of our days being limited, and I didn't know if we would talk about this today, but I kind of remember around how we met. And I do a lot of funerals.
Oh, yeah.
I do a lot of funerals. I've been around death a lot. Lost my son to murder in Winter Garden. And your brother was murdered here in Brevard. And I can remember one meeting we had when the sheriff wasn't the sheriff. Remember when he wasn't the sheriff?
He was the resident agent in charge for FDLE.
Yeah. That's right. And when we met at the golf course, we had breakfast, and I don't even know if he said he was going to run yet or whatever. And you guys kind of walked through that day, that night of your brother. And so you haven't always been this work affects you on both sides, not just behind the scenes helping people and hear these great victories.
Right.
You've lost your brother.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah,
that's right.
Like your mama's son, your mama and daddy's son, right?
That's right.
To this man, and I know that as the preacher, all my programs got a story, right? You know it, right? And but really to you, man, the work you've done and the work you're doing behind the scene is heartfelt. And I think sometimes because you think he would just think, oh, he's great at things. No, this is heartfelt. Yeah, this is close to home. This is home. Yeah. And so man, just I think that has a lot to do with the work we do as well, man. It's personal.
You are impacted whether you like it or not. By your upbringing, by your environment, and by all of the situations that are around you from the time you were young all the way until today. It's not by happenstance that for 39 years, my mother was the CEO of the Child Care Association, first Head Start, monies in Brevard. We learned to give back at a very young age, right? The same thing that you see written in my office today is the same thing I saw written in her office. To whom much is given, much is required, right? And I always joke with you about this. You try to do as good as your parents or better. Every kid should, right? You try to keep it going higher. Well, my mom still got her foot on the gas.
Yeah, absolutely.
So trying to do that still leaves a measurable way for us to go, you know what I mean, to accomplish
Mama just
that.
got an award this weekend. Come on, man.
Still at it,
Come
right?
on,
Still
man.
at it. Or you and I have talked about this.
I was nominated for the same one. Mama. Hey, I see Mama that man. I ain't getting this one.
you kind of knew the competition was stiff, right?
Yeah.
Right? And the expectation level. You and I have chatted about this. I don't have a rough side of the mountain story, right? My story and yours are very different, right? You've also been in the room with her enough to know what that squeeze feels like when she has an expectation of Jarvis.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And so I grew up living that daily pressure, right? I joke with her even today. If I speak, if I do this, if I do that, within 10 minutes after I'm done, she's gonna call you, she's gonna text you, right?
Yeah.
You did a great job. But. And here's the most famous but. The most famous but was the night before the funeral, my brother's funeral. She said, it's a lot for your dad and I to speak. And, you shouldn't ask your cousin who grew up with me like a sister. She's 2 years younger than me. That's a little bit much for her. So you need to get up and speak on behalf of the family. Not a problem. What did I do? Turned over the business card, made 3 notes on the back, right?
That's it.
And I took that up there. And so after it was over, she said, oh, son, you did a good job. But she said, you didn't cry, but you look like you could have. And next time you need to clean that up, right? A little bit. I want to say, hey, you know what I mean? That was my dead brother in that casket right there, 5 feet away, right?
Yeah.
And but her point was, she and you never forget, and you've been around us, talk about this a lot. There's a time to grieve and there's a time to mourn, but before that, there's a time to take care of business. And when you take care of business, you got to have your head on straight, right? Tears and emotion and other things aren't a bad thing, but they get in the way when clear thought and technical decision making is necessary. Not to say that there's not a time for that. There is a time for that.
Yeah.
Or I remember when Kelly's mom, when my wife's mom passed away, and Kelly turned to my mom and said, we're headed to the funeral and to the wake. My mom's not here. Tell me what my mama would say. And she said, if your mama was here, she would tell you, put on your face tonight because you greet in public and you grieve in private.
Cold.
Right.
It's a learned behavior.
Right.
It's a learned
Right.
Yeah.
And so, and I was thinking about it being a learned behavior, but then I was at those funerals and I saw my children, my brother's children, and others assume the same role that they thought because they saw that role conditioned in front of them. Not that there's not a time for that.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Certainly it's a healthy thing, you know what I mean, to release. But before that, there's a time to focus and there's a time to get things done, and you have to be in a mindset position to do it, right? So that's the pressure that she's always placed on us, right? There's more to do. There's more to do, and I say it to my two. I can only imagine Ty feels that pressure sometimes, right? You know what I mean? You heard him say the other night, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When you tell me to get up and say something, I'm gonna turn the napkin over, make a couple of notes on it, and by the time I get done, those are your 3 PowerPoints, right?
Yep, that's it. He did an amazing job the other night too. He did an amazing job. Man, it's been good kicking it with you, man.
Absolutely, brother.
Man, this been good, man. It's been a long time coming.
Far too long.
It's been a long time coming, man. To have you on the Takeaway podcast, man. Any last words? Anything you would like to say to the folks that may be listening today? We covered a genre of various different things today. It was started with collaboration, but man, you're a friend and brother, man, and I value your voice. You know what I mean? I value your voice. You
don't want to hear it all the time.
I don't want to hear it all the time. I don't hear it all the time. Sometimes, like, man, you just got it. It's gonna be long. It's gonna take longer, Jarvis. Like, what? Why?
Yeah.
So still, man.
But I think collectively, and you and I we're talking about this when we went to Bishop Derek McRae's
Bishopry.
convocation
Yeah,
or whatever it is, right?
The bishop. I'll make sure I
Elevation.
say them this part.
Right.
The bishop.
Elevation.
Yes.
And the pastor preached that night about two things, and I think it sums up our collaboration and all that. He's like, you got to network because you can't do it by yourself. Now he said, don't worry about it. It's not for everybody because all nets don't work is what
All
he
nets
said
don't
that
work.
night, right?
Right.
But you got to network. And so if we're going to accomplish and really be all that God has laid us out to be, we've got to touch and agree with somebody somewhere to help us accomplish, those good things.
Absolutely.
Second thing he talked about, which kind of goes to the generational thing that you talked about, which is, hey man, you got to remember that whenever you get elevated, there was somebody who was elevated before you.
For you.
Right? That's the thing I always appreciated about Dick Blake and Jolie Smith in politics. I had great parents and great mentors. My parents weren't involved in politics though, right? Those guys taught me how to play this game and this process. But what they talked about was, hey, I realized when I got to the mountaintop, there was other people already there.
Yeah.
There was other people who had been there for a long time. And so am I going to go try to say, let me walk around the mountain 3 times and try to figure it out? Or am I going to have the patience to sit down, ask, and understand? But on the backside, once I had the patience to do that, the second thing that we, now that we've moved on, have to do is make sure that we trust those that we've entrusted with that information that they're going to do right and pull it off, right? And it's hard. It's in both directions, right?
In both
there's
directions.
there's a push and pull, and so I'm hopeful for our community that we've not seen the greatest yet. Whether it's our minority community, Brevard as a whole, this country, this state, and others have gone through some unique times, right?
Unique is a good word.
My mom said one time when a teacher said I was unique, she said, I don't know if that's good or bad, but it's just unique, right?
Yeah.
We've gone through some unique times. And regardless of where you are on the spectrum and all that, we are so incredibly focused today on our differences. And you and I have fought for us to talk about the ways that we are the same. And without pushing each other down, there's a way for us to collectively get together. And that's just, my sincere hope. And I hope my continued work works toward that. And I hope your continued work works toward that. And I know and understand that it's going to be a better place as a result of you, myself, and many others who've collectively contributed to what we call home.
Yeah. Teamwork. Take teamwork, make the dream work, right?
That's right.
Hey, so the takeaway. I need you to like, I need you to comment, I need you to subscribe, I need you to share, I need you to get this message out. There are some amazing people like my homie Kendall Moore working behind the scenes and in your face, right? And things are happening, things are working. And this was cool today, man. This is cool.
I enjoyed it, my brother.
man. We had a good time. Hey, please follow, like, comment, subscribe, and we'll be at you next time. We'll talk with you soon.